Good morning, and thank you all for joining today's seminar, Plant-Based Foods and the City, From Seed to Takeout. I'm Vanessa Sellers, the Director of the Humanities Institute at the New York Botanical Garden, and together with co-host and moderator Garrett Broad, Associate Professor and Associate Chair of Communication and Media Studies at Fordham University, it is my great pleasure to welcome you from locations across the United States and around the globe for our Foodways workshops, exploring the relationship of food to culture and identity in the Bronx. The New York Botanical Garden is located in the ancestral homeland of the Lenape, or Delaware people. We honor them and acknowledge their displacement, dispossession, and continued presence. Today's conversation is focusing on the food industry and nutrition sciences, tracing plant-based foods from fields to restaurants, bodegas, takeouts, and containers in the Bronx and beyond. And I'm delighted to hand over the microphone to our special moderators for today, Dr. Garrett Broad, with whom I've had the privilege to run various collaborative programs related to health, food, and the city. And here is Garrett to introduce today's amazing speakers, Eric Castro and Dil Tavarai. Garrett.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, and to the entire team at the Humanities Institute and the New York Botanical Garden for hosting us today. Our focus in this session is plant-based foods, a topic that's received a great deal of attention in recent years. Vegan, vegetarian, and other plant-based diets are championed by many as a powerful approach to health, environmental sustainability, and a more humane and ethical food system. Critics, on the other hand, are concerned with some of the highly processed, popular plant-based products, the potential disconnect between plant-based diets and certain cultural food traditions, and the implications of removing animals from agricultural systems. All humans, of course, need plants in order to live, since we don't have the luxury of turning sunlight directly into energy like our friends in the plant kingdom can. So if you look deep enough, all of our food comes from plants. And that's the case whether you eat products from animals who are fed grass or grain, follow a whole foods plant-based diet that includes only minimally processed products, or enjoy one of the many plant-based meats that use raw materials like soy or pea protein to create vegetarian alternatives. But there's clearly something new about that last category. In just the last few years, plant-based meat products went from being a staple of vegetarian restaurants and health food stores to becoming a big business. Plant-based meat companies have received huge investments. Their products have been featured everywhere from fine dining to fast food. And on social media, where I spend way too much time, people can't seem to stop fighting over whether this is a good or a bad thing for the food system, for eaters, for animals, and for the planet. So with that in mind, I am thrilled to be joined today by two speakers who are going to help us better understand the path taken by plant-based foods, from seed to the city. First, we'll hear from Dr. Dil Tavaraja. She's an associate professor in the Department of Plant and Environmental Sciences at Clemson University, where she leads the pulse biofortification and organic nutritional breeding programs. She previously worked at the Canadian Lentil Breeding and Biofortification Program at the University of Saskatchewan, Canada, and started the National Pulse Quality and Nutrition Laboratory at North Dakota State University, Fargo, North Dakota. She holds a PhD in plant science, a master's in soil science from the University of Saskatchewan, and a bachelor's from Sri Lanka. She's received many grants to support her work, including one from the Good Food Institute, an organization that advocates for transitions to plant-based diets, where Dr. Tavaraja focused on the development and selection of nutritionally superior organic pulse crops to improve protein quality and bioavailability. Then we'll meet Eric Castro, the co-founder and creative director of Plantega, a community-powered vegan food system solution headquartered in New York with locations in the Bronx. Castro is a passionate plant-based connoisseur, bringing tasty, inspiring bites to his popular How to Be Vegan in the Hood brand. You can find that handle on Instagram. His company, Plantega, makes plant-based food easier to access from bodegas across New York City. From Brooklyn to the Bronx and the bodega at 181st and Broadway that I often go to, each location carries 100% plant-based, easy to grab options made hot off the grill, like a chopped cheese and breakfast burrito, as well as retail products like cheeses, burgers, and chicken, all vegan. Everyone, feel welcome to add a question by clicking the Q&A button on your Zoom screen. We also encourage everyone to select your favorite questions by clicking the thumbs up button. And without any further ado, I am thrilled to introduce our panelists who will help us trace plant-based foods from the agricultural fields to the takeout containers of our favorite bodegas. Dr. Tavaraja, I will hand things over to you first to share more about your work. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen first. And press it. I hope everyone can see you. Okay.
Looks good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Board, and thank you, Dr. Sellers, and thank you so much for inviting me for this great opportunity. I have no conflict of interest financially for my work. I am just simply promoting a very simple pulse-based food. Just eat pulsars. And I have been, since I was a kid, from Sri Lanka, we have been eating lentils 3 times a day, and growing up and being a graduate student, undergraduate student, researcher, and a professor here at the Clemson and the North Dakota State University, I've been loving talking about pulsars and their health benefits. I'm going to share some of the work that we do, the amazing people in my lab, my grad students, scientists, and what they're doing, a little bit of work, what we are doing in our lab. So first, what is pulses? Before I introduce you the pulses, I wanted to acknowledge the United Nations Food System Summit happened in the New York City last week, 2021. And it was very important for us as researchers because they emphasize on people, planet, and the prosperity. Many times in their summit, they have been talking about pulses and how pulses going to help on the food system and how to link agriculture and the human health, which I have been doing all my career. What is pulses good for? It is critical for the sustainable cropping system, low input of water, nitrogen, and carbon for any other food like animal food. This is a low input water, nitrogen fixer, and carbon footprint. Also very highly nutritious. It is also known as poor man's meat. No need to be shame on that. It is because it is economical and it's cheap and highly nutritious. Empowers smallholder farmers around the globe, United States, and our state, South Carolina. Major thing, it's the major component of healthy food system, and pulses give the low cost, highly nutrition food for many people around the world. So what is a healthy diet? According to the WHO definition, healthy diet important to start healthy eating at the early stage in the life with limited intake of free sugar and salt. And that is the definition from WHO. But as a scientist, as a plant researcher, we all know that we need more than 55 nutrients per day to have a healthy, wealthy life. And for example, proteins, essential amino acid, essential fatty acid, nutrients, micronutrients, trace elements, vitamins, oxygen, water, carbohydrate. So these are essential for us. And when you take a lentil seed, I took as example for the pulse seed as a lentils, and you can see 60% is carbohydrate, which is low digestible carbohydrates. It releases the sugars very slowly into your bloodstream, which is very good for diabetes and cardiovascular disease. There's a lot of health impact and the gut health for the prebiotic carbohydrate. Not only that, it's rich in protein, 25 to 30%, less in fat, high in ash, that means it is high in the micronutrient content. So when you look at the MyPlate, most of you are familiar with the MyPlate from USDA. Pulses check vegetables as well as the protein. So pulses are very healthy based on its nutritional composition. How pulses fit into the US food system? This is the work that we did, collected data from 1961 to early from FAO database. You can see how the pulse crop supply, this is mostly lentil pea and chickpea, and you can see how increase of the fat supply and then how it changed with the sugar supply. There is a gap between how much pulses supply into the market compared to the sugar and fat supply. So can we connect that into our daily vegetable intake among adults in the United States? You can see dark green to yellow to light green. You can see like my state, South Carolina, is, so our intake is quite low, so it's less than 1.5. And when you look at the pulse intake in the middle, like you can see, we eat about 25 to 3 pounds per capita per year, which is quite low. So this is a very cheap food, and you can make it the way how you want, very delicious way, or you can eat as a whole food or as an ingredient, but our intake as a country is very low. So what happened with the unhealthy diet over time? One thing is the obesity. Obesity right now causes 36 million deaths globally, and the current data from the CDC is 42.4% people are obese in the US. And the paper from Lancet, one of the leading journals, nutrition journals in 2016, what they were told was, these experts, the world has transitioning from an era when underweight prevalence was more than obesity to obesity prevalence is higher than the underweight. So when I was a grad student and a researcher, we were talking about underweight and the malnutrition, but now we have to talk about the obesity. So this is the picture of obesity right now in the United States. You can see about the red states. And this, the down, you can see the figure, that data that we collected, how the obesity changed among the global, and US become the highest, and the developing countries also rising the obesity problem. And do not forget the malnutrition. It affects 1 in 3. So these are the health problems when you don't have a healthy food system. So food security, I look into Dr. Barlog's philosophy all the time. I teach a course on food security, a situation that people will have nutritious food all the time, physical, social, and economical access to sufficient nutritious food. So the 3 components, availability, access, and the utilization. And because of that, Dr. Barlog's work on the Green Revolution, he got the Nobel Prize and one of the heroes of our area of science. But when you look at the food insecurity or food security in United States, about 89.5% of food secure household, but still we have about 11% food insecure household. So how do we get real food into these food insecure people? So Clemson University, this is my breeding program, organic, we are focused on organic cultivar development for pulses. It's very new, the organic program. And I have been working on the pulse biofortification for more than a decade. I took an example of protein. So what we do, we have a bigger germplasm and we bring them into US and we work in the South Carolina and we use new tools, genomic and phenomic tools, and we look for the precision protein, basically what consumer wants. So it's a breeding program designed, the breeding pipeline is farm to table concept. So what consumer want, we should be able to give that nutrition quality. This is hard because those nutritional traits are governed by many genes. So it's a complicated process, but we are on the way to develop high protein quality cultivars for organic production system. Our main quality is to look at the end quality of the food. And these projects are funded by the NIFA OREI for lentil breeding and pea breeding. Our long-term goal is to develop cultivars adapted for the organic cropping system with agronomic yield and the agronomic performances, nutrition quality, especially the protein quality and the prebiotic carbohydrate quality. And then we have a very talented bioinformatic personnel working on the program. Genomic and bioinformatic tools that we want to develop. And most importantly, you can see in these pictures, it doesn't matter what we do in the lab, we need to take this into the growers and to our consumers. So education is the most important thing in the science. So we do a lot of on-farm education as well as a consumer education. You can see this dinner table that prepared by my students using pulses. And the other thing we're looking at in the mostly for the American market, American consumers, we wanted to give whole food as an ingredient. So we developed this system for organic protein extractions and the processing methods and give the whole protein like a whole food to develop any food products like your smoothie or morning, you can add a little bit of this protein into your oatmeal, or I made hummus using this. And then you can see the nutritional component of this organic protein, which is high digestible, and this extracted protein not only having 74% of protein, it also has prebiotic carbohydrates and minerals, and also it is low in anti-nutrients. And we compare this protein into the control, which is a store-bought protein. You can see how it's different compared to the organic proteins that we develop in the lab scale. So our goal is to use this protein ingredient, but it as a whole food. Little bit of highlights from my lab, and I have fantastic team of graduate students, and now we know our pulses, we can increase the protein quality. We are focused on increasing methionine and cysteine already high, and we are looking for the sulfur-containing amino acid profile. And one of the things we do is the prebiotic carbohydrate, understand the gene control, and or genes are responsible for specific prebiotic carbohydrate. You can see one of these figures that resistant starch, one of the healthy carbohydrate in lentils. And when you cook it and cool it, that means you cook it and you put it into the fridge. And when you look at the resistant starch content, it doubles. So these pulses are highly nutritious. Resistant starch is really helpful to increase the healthy gut microbiome in the gut. And this is the picture in the liver images from the rats fed with the lentils, corn, and the control diet. You can see the corn diet increased the fat deposition in the liver. So these data were published, and animal studies, we do genetic studies, and we do food-based studies. And also we have been looking into the gene control of the minerals, iron, zinc, selenium, and then we can map this genetic diversity of these populations that we are working on. I don't have time to go in detail, but you can follow our website, and then you can get all the information from that. And one of the closest thing to my heart, I wanted to share this. When I came to Clemson in 2014, I was surprised the obesity rates around the campus, especially for the schools. So we start working with the middle school. This is a student-driven project by my undergraduates, and we started 7 years ago. And this is the Pendleton Elementary School. You can see when we went to the school, their school garden was abandoned. And then my student went there and they start building the garden. We create the land, and the students build this 6-foot tall wooden boxes. And then we start growing vegetables in them based on the calendar. We make the vegetable calendars, and then students will teach the these school kids how to pick the vegetable for the season. And look at this, like this is radishes growing in there. And then students go there and teach them how to grow them, how to plant them, how to take care of them. And not only that, in the classroom, we did some workshops, how to cook them, how you add that into your diet regularly. That was very successful project. And as a plant scientist, few thoughts for you all to think about. Unhealthy food system affect millions of people. So as a population, we need to do something about this. We need to connect our food system with the agriculture and the human health. So pulses are an excellent source or an excellent component for this food system. And there's an urgent need to increase the pulse consumption within the America and around the world to reduce the obesity and the malnutrition. And what is the demand for pulses may increase near future? I put within bracket organic because our program is organic. What is climate change going to impact our cropping system? And then can we produce enough pulses for the growing demand for 2050? And my last take home thing, can processed food produced to be developed at a sustainable scale? It's like whole food giving in as an ingredient. So that's all I have, but I wanted to say that Clemson, we develop skills and insight that will continue to the global food security. Thank you all. And this is my great, wonderful team that help. Every person counts, and it's a big program. And we need a lot of support. And if you need to follow anything, go online. And here are my supporters. And thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And that is quite a team. Clearly, this work takes a lot of people. All right. So that was our first part, right? That was plant-based foods from seed. And we also got a little bit of consumer education in there and thinking about sort of the next stage for different products. But our next presenter, Eric Castro, who I'm really thrilled is joining us today, is going to tell us about an initiative that's really about connecting with consumers and some really exciting things happening right here in New York City. So Eric Castro of Plantega and How to Be Vegan in the Hood, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. That presentation was amazing. I just wanted to start off with that. Thank you, New York Botanical Garden, for this opportunity as well. I'm going to share my screen as well so I can show you guys my slide here, something a little shorter. So let's start with what Plantega is and how and why it is so important for New York City. I have an Instagram that I've been operating for a few years now called How to Be Vegan in the Hood. And on this Instagram, it was just simply made just to show all my friends that didn't really understand what vegetarian was, what vegan was, what plant-based was, you know, the importance of eating this diet and living this lifestyle. So I made the Instagram, like I said, about 5 years ago, and it's been an amazing journey since. So many doors have been opened, and one of the doors has been Plantega. I teamed up with Effect Partners, an amazing team that stands up for so much. And they put a bunch of people together on Zoom one day, and we decided to like just throw out some ideas of what we can do to help the country and a ton of different ways. And one of my ideas was Plantega, how we can put vegan food in bodegas. And from there, the team, you know, we came together and worked collectively and just took the risk of trying to make this happen. So now what Plantega does is we put vegan food in bodegas. If you're not familiar with what the bodega is, it's a corner store, like a deli here in New York City. So what we did was we scouted around New York City and just took notes of, you know, potential locations where there might be food deserts, or, you know, going on apps like Happy Cow and seeing like, wow, there's no vegan options in this part of the Bronx, or this part of Queens, or this part of Brooklyn. You know, how can we help these people, you know, New York City being, you know, really populated, the people deserve to have these options there. So, you know, boots on the ground, walked around New York City and trying to figure out like what locations need it, which locations would do best at it. So we're proudly at 15 locations. And that's just, we're about to make 1 year with Plantega really soon. So we're at 15 locations, all the locations doing really well. let me slide over here so I can show you guys. So we make plant-based accessible, which is like the biggest thing for New Yorkers. You know, bodegas, corner stores, these things are like the home base for New Yorkers, whether you're out in the morning for work or dropping the kids off at school or coming home late from, you know, a long work day or just a day out with the family. The bodega is like the kind of savior. They do cold sandwiches, they do hot sandwiches. They have everything from snacks to milk to toilet paper, toothbrushes. And a lot of these communities have great relationships with the bodega, usually family-owned business, and it's a big part of living in New York. So, you know, we wanted to work directly with these bodegas to say how can we help them provide for their communities? How can we also, you know, connect some of these plant-based brands that are not you know, intertwined with these communities as well. And it's been really well. Our goal right now is to serve 2 million meals at 65 locations in the next 3 years. And like I said, the locations we currently have, you know, some of these locations, well, most of the locations are seeing like really well net profits. You know, hitting our first location, for example, which is right across the street from Wyckoff Hospital, seeing a net profit of a minimum 5,000 to 6,000 per month. Which is an amazing thing. You know, these people work day and night to provide these options. The community has been asking for these things, and some of these bodega owners didn't believe that, you know, the community wanted plant-based options, and we're beyond grateful for them taking that risk with us to say, hey, you know, we posted things on social media. The people said that this specific area in Brooklyn doesn't have vegan options. Your store was requested by many people. And they, you know, end up saying, you know what, let's give this a try. If it works good for the planet, the community, you know, I can financially, you know, benefit from it as well for my business and family. Let's give it a try. And it's been a great success. And, you know, over the next 3 years, we're very confident in this goal here. So here's the menu. So this is the menu that we have on the hot grill. And then the photo to the side is the fridge. The fridge is available in select locations if you want to check them out on eatplantega.com, located in all the boroughs besides Staten Island at this very moment. We're definitely working on getting something in Staten Island for before the year ends. But the menu here serves, you know, things that New Yorkers are familiar with. You know, sausage, egg, and cheese, something that I've eaten my entire life going to school. The classic cheeseburger, you know, the chopped cheese it's a really famous New York City sandwich that, you know, even when I first went plant-based, those are one of the things that I was like, how can I give that up? And beyond proud that we can do this and provide this with companies like Beyond Meat, Just Egg, Good Catch. We have sandwiches like the grilled cheese and even something really cool like the deli slice sandwich, which is a tofurkey deli slice that can be cooked hot or it can be served cold and purchased with an EBT card, which is a huge benefit for a lot of New Yorkers now. And like I mentioned in the beginning, it was really important for us to team up with the right stores, the right brands for all of this to work out. And it's been definitely a challenge to be super honest, but it's been a rewarding challenge that we know long-term, this will be the normal for bodegas in New York City. You'll be able to go down to your local bodega and not have to wonder if they have plant-based options or vegetarian options or, you know, some gluten-free options and things in that matter. So these are the brands that we are currently providing at the bodegas. Beyond Meat, Just Egg, Miyoko's, Good Catch, No Evil, Folly Hard, Tofurkey, and Ben & Jerry's is something that we currently do not sell at the locations, but we were blessed to hand out thousands, I believe it's 4,000 or 5,000 plant-based Ben & Jerry ice cream cups at every single location. So over the summer, you know, all you had to do was come by to your local bodega that had the Plantega, and we were just handing out ice cream, informing people what we do, why we do what we do. And it was super impactful. And to this day, I'm insanely grateful for Ben & Jerry's for doing that for us. And another beauty of all of this is we work directly with these brands, and these brands see our vision. They understand how important this is. So instead of buying these items at, distribution places, we work directly with them so we can get them at a cost where the bodega can still sell the sandwich a little cheaper than what other restaurants and other establishments are selling them at. If we had to match the cost, it might scare people away from, getting their typical $6 cheeseburger compared to their $8 or $10 cheeseburger. So beyond grateful for these brands working directly with us, making sure that financially it can make sense for, these communities, for the bodega owners, to keep everyone happy. And like I mentioned, they see our vision as much as we do, and we wouldn't be able to be here without them for sure. Now, social media has been one of our huge helpers throughout this entire year. We went from having 0 followers a year ago to just hitting 5,000 on Instagram. And luckily for us, the community wants other people to know about this. The community really supports Plantega. They love what we do. It's been a huge blessing, seeing people, like we'll go to the bodega to do inventory, and we'll see people taking photos to share on social media, and we'll go and speak to them, and they're like, yeah, we just want to put the word out. This is so cool. Before this, I had no knowledge at all about veganism or vegetarian or anything. I was plant-based. Like, I've heard of it, but not in my community. So the fact that we have this option like social media where people can instantly just share these images, Plantega doesn't push the narrative of like, go vegan, save the planet, save the animals, do this. We try to stay away from the forcing of things and try to really embody the food that we produce, the brands that's involved, the people that are loving this, the bodega owners that are succeeding with us. So it's been a really big blessing. We're going to continue pushing on social and, other outlets that we've been on, like the news, Fox, ABC, Veg News, The Eater. Everyone's been showing so much love, and definitely grateful for that. So this is kind of how the way Plantega works. There's, especially now, 2021, the list of vegan brands have just been growing and growing, which is an amazing thing. But we need to make sure that we work with brands that are going to stand up and represent what we represent, and see the long-term goal and mission. And, it's not the easiest to tell a brand, like, we understand your product is valued at this much, but we're trying to, sell it at this cost so the community can afford this product. The community owner can, be open-minded to trying to carry this new product. And like I mentioned, the brands, they've done a tremendous job working with us. Now, curating bodegas was something that I was the first one to do when this idea was just evolving. And I was out there, just bodega to bodega with an iPad, writing details down, seeing what works, what are our options, what are our areas. And luckily for us now, we have a huge team, that all play a strong role into this. And, they go out, and we have a field team. They go out and, speak to other bodegas and speak to other people who live in these communities. And it's been so well that even bodega owners are recommending us to their friends that own bodegas. So perfect example, we almost opened 5 locations in Chelsea just because one of the owners said, a buddy of mine has 3 stores down this direction, and his buddy has 2 more stores down this direction. Just because they see that financially it's helping my business, the community is happy, it's a win-win for everyone with Plantega, which is a beautiful thing. Sadly, we can't accept every single bodega because, no one, their financial gains will all slim down. So we try to be very selective with giving the perfect amount of space in between locations. And now, like I mentioned, for the community, this is the main reason. I was born and raised in Queens, New York. by single mother. So I was definitely living off the bodega, which means breakfast, lunch, sometimes even dinner, definitely for snacks. There's been times where like, even I go to the bodega and forget my wallet at home, or just honestly don't have the money to eat. And the bodega owner would be like, don't worry, take care of it when you come back. And that same concept is still living with Plantega now. And, it's a cool thing to see. Like, I walked into a bodega the other day and a gentleman was talking to the guy like, oh, I don't have the money to purchase that sandwich right now, but one day I'm going to try it. And the bodega owner said, you know what? You live in this community. I'll give you the sandwich for free. And if you like it, now it's here, it's available for you. Which is another huge blessing for us. So now the lifestyle and merchandise that we do. So as you can see in the first photo, that's our location on 3rd Avenue. And that location has all the signage like every other location. We try to, create flyers and things like that for the bodegas, so we can not stand out and be an advertisement that's like, you need to do this and you need to do that, but more of a advertisement where it's like, it's plant-based, it's a cheeseburger, it's available here. We're not trying to change you, we're just trying to show you more options and have you try these things that maybe one day will change your eating pattern later down the line, which is something that also happened to myself, being vegan for 5 years now. I went directly to eating Beyond Meat and all these things, and I was loving it. And it came to a point where I realized, like, I want to be plant-based and I eating all this stuff, but I don't feel as healthy just because of the amount of bread I'm eating and, ketchup and all these things. But it was a huge stepping stone for me to take that next level and to say, you know what, I want to feel better and I want to continue eating these products. Let me try eating vegetables that I grew up disliking. And many of you might laugh right now, but I didn't enjoy eating avocados until like a few years ago. Like, I've always loved guacamole, but I didn't enjoy avocados or okra or anything like that. And growing up in New York, it was just not something that my mom was making. We're more worried about feeding me to stay alive than making sure I'm full of nutrition. But if it wasn't because of these products, I would have never took that initiative to say, hey, maybe I should start cooking more vegetables and trying things I didn't like before. And that's what we're hoping to do here with this advertisement, getting people to come in, try the food, do some research and things like that when they get back home. And then the merchandise as well. We do t-shirts, bucket hats, and a lot of things we gave out for free. We will be selling a lot of merchandise and collaborating with a lot of other New Yorkers here for the bigger picture. But like I said, Plantega is currently at 15 locations. We have one in the Bronx right now, which is our second location that we ever opened. But on my Instagram, How to Be Vegan in the Hood, I shared a post about a week or two ago, just highlighting the Bronx, asking everyone to comment below a location in the Bronx that you would like Plantega to be at. And we have scheduled next week specifically for the Bronx. Then we're going to go to Staten Island. But we want to continue filling these gaps up, working with these companies, seeing these profits with these businesses. And it's been a blessing. And I feel like, our goal will be reached in due time.
All right. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric, and to the whole team at Plantega. I'm going to ask Adil as well to join us back on here. Eric, stay on. I want to keep us talking. So let's keep the conversation going. First of all, we've got like 160 people who have been joining us for this webinar. So clearly there's a lot of interest here. There's a bunch of questions that have come through in the Q&A and in the chat. I'm going to do my best to get to as many of them as we can in the next 20 minutes, but also, Adil, it looks like you've included your contact info in the chat. Eric, if you're open to doing that as well, if people want to follow up, figure out how they can get a Plantega in their neighborhood, that's another way if we don't get to all of these questions. So a bunch of questions. I'm going to try to bring a couple different ones together. The first one I want to ask is about health. Both of you seem really interested in health. But there's, as you said, Eric, already, right? Like maybe a Plantega a day doesn't necessarily keep the doctor away, right? And so, but Adil, you're working on the plant side, trying to, increase the nutritional profile. So I'm just wondering if you both could speak a little bit to like, how does health fit into all of this, right? You know, to what extent can some of these processed alternative meats fit into a healthy diet? How much is too much? Should we, you know, not worry so much about that? Just any thoughts that you have about, like, how do you think about health in these products, and how does your work relate to trying to improve health? Let's start with Eric, and then we can go to Dil.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, if it wasn't for these products, I would have never, it would have never sparked me to even care about what I'm eating and things of that nature. And I think for people who grew up in neighborhoods where I grew up at, this is a perfect stepping stone for them to say, let me try to lay off the meat and try some of this. And, you know, like I mentioned, no one should be eating from the bodega all day, every day. And, you know, like I said, there's bread in there, there's going to be ketchup, but at the same time, we have options that, like our wrap, for example, that has avocado and spinach and onions. And we really want to embody the eating wholesome, but we couldn't just tell people like, don't eat a cheeseburger, eat a salad, because as a New Yorker, I just know, we all know that it'll be a harder fight for us to battle. So we decided to say, hey, you know, let's use these brands that are strong in what they do. Like for the Beyond example, you know, I know their new patty has a lot less sodium. Just Egg, it's the same exact thing. They've been working on new formulas. I can't sit here and say like, if you eat the Plantaga menu, you're going to get skinny and you're going to be super healthy, but it's definitely an amazing stepping stone for people like myself who never grew up on a farm, who you know, don't have relations to much animals besides the pigeons and rats here. And for the people who are healthy vegans, who, you know, sometimes crave that cheeseburger or want to continue eating a chopped cheese. There's a lot of people who, even for religious reasons, don't want to eat beef, but, you know, every now and then they want to have a burger or something. So I feel like it's definitely like, we can't promote that we're 100% for your health, but we are an option. We are a stepping stone for you to go do more research and make these changes in your life.
Great. Thanks so much, Eric. Dil, how about you in terms of sort of eating lentils in their kind of, or pulses in their pure form versus eating them in a more processed product? Can they both be healthy? You know, what's your take on that?
I would start with everything should be in moderation. So if you are not into pulses yet, you need to start slow. Like a person like me, I grew up with pulses. So my gut microbiome is adjusted to that. So you need to start. I see the chats, people say that, oh, I can't digest it. Of course you can't, but you have to start small and go from there. And for the ingredient, that's one of the things that I have been thinking about, and we have looking for more grants funding to work on this project, because how about we give the ingredient as a whole? So then maybe we could easily digest it instead of we remove all the other nutrition part and just only take the protein. How about we add a little bit of that healthy carbohydrate? Everybody was asking prebiotic carbohydrate. That makes your gut healthier. If you want to have like a good probiotics in your gut, you need to have some substrate in the gut. So lentil is a really good, rich in prebiotic carbohydrate to easy digest. So what my take home with the ingredient is, it's a good way to start eating vegetables, but we need to make sure we are not eating very highly processed. Maybe we could have moderately processed, because processing also is another conversation, right? If you remove the seed, that is processing, like seed coat. If you grind it, add more things, that also processing. There's a lot of steps into processing. So don't misunderstood the word processing and don't be scared. Just check, take the slow steps, and maybe you might enjoy the whole food, like the bowl of beans with your rice and soup. That is a whole food. So I like the both. So I really think this is a good start for the people who don't eat the vegetables. That's a good way to have the Beyond Burger.
And can I ask a very quick follow-up on that? There was a question. Can you explain what a prebiotic carbohydrate is?
Okay, so prebiotic carbohydrate, or we also call as low digestible carbohydrates. These are made from the sugar component, but they digest it very slowly in the gut, or it doesn't digest because we don't have enzyme to digest it. So actually the process is done by the bacteria, the good bacteria. So there's a lot of literature, a lot of talks about how this prebiotic carbohydrate help on the gut health, because we wanted to have a healthy bacteria, not the pathogenic bacteria. Like pathogenic bacteria cause diarrhea and a lot of other diseases. So we want to have this healthy bacteria. To have the healthy bacteria, we need to have this slow digestible or low digestible carbohydrate that we really cannot digest. We don't have enzymes, but bacteria does. So
Got it.
the range of things. You can look into our website. There's a lot of information that we are going to put time by time. Yeah.
And one more for you, Dil. So there's a question here. A lot of people seem to want to know, what are some of the pulses that are native to America? And I'm going to add a second part of that, which is, in your work, you're talking about organic, pulses, but you're also talking about things like genome sequencing and bioinformatics. It seems like a lot of times there's a sort of distinction that a lot of people make between sort of natural approaches versus scientific approaches to how we think about food and agriculture. It seems like you're doing a kind of a combination there. So I'd love to hear how you think about sort of the relationship between traditional plant breeding and traditional growing approaches and using some new technological tools, genetic technologies, et cetera. So a double question there. What's native to America in terms of pulses? And then how do you think about the relationship between kind of traditional ag and new technology in ag?
So all the pulse crops that we are working on, they are originated from Mediterranean region. So Turkey, Morocco, on that region of the Mediterranean. So I know only one pulse crop that native to America, not very many, and that is not actually a pulse crop, it's a legume, but people here in South Carolina, they use it, they eat the tuber as well as they eat the seed. That's for the native populations. So I don't know any pulse crop, pea, lentil, chickpea, they all originated from the Middle East areas. So that's the answer for that. The second question was about how do we do. So the work that I do for the breeding program, it is all organic. It is USDA certified. So we are not supposed to do anything gene modification, and we are not doing it. But it doesn't mean that we can use this technology to understand what is genes and what they do, what are the functions. So I have a really good bioinformatics team and the genetist, Dr. Krasovich team that I collaborate. And my students can go work with their team and we can understand, then we know what genes control this carbohydrate, what genes that control this protein, that would help us to develop the markers. It doesn't mean that I'm going to modify the genome or anything like that, or I can't use that techniques yet because CRISPR, the gene editing, is not approved for organic breeding yet, but it doesn't mean that we can use it for understand the science. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Most people, yeah.
It does. I mean, you're kind of speaking my language. I feel like a lot of times it's like, you feel like you have to kind of be in one camp or the other. And it seems to me like you're bringing this really interesting perspective. And I think you're doing something in a different way, Eric, that's similar, right? Yeah. If you want to jump in on that. Yeah.
I honestly just wanted to say that I love your perspective on well, I love everything you do and your perspective on both ends. Usually I meet people that, are super on the health side and they kind of don't want to deal with Beyond Meat or anything like that. But I think it's super important. It's important to have this balance of, stepping stones and, where we can get some really, really health benefits from. A lot of people here in New York City, the fast-paced life, we don't really get to sit down and think about, how can we benefit our health? It's always, got to catch a train. I got to go to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. Everything's on a million here. So it's a beautiful thing to see how passionate you are for the nutrition value of food, but also understanding that there's things like Plantega where it's needed for these stepping stones and to get people to take a step back to take 10 more steps forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Small steps at a
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like so kind of pushing back against extremes in thinking about food and ag and health and all that. It's a complex world.
And also the 2050, we have a lot of people to feed. So we have to get every possible technology and agriculture, everybody linked together. Nutrition is everybody. It's not my job or Garrett's or Eric's job. We all need to be united as a team to face for this. I think
Yeah.
that's the message I got from the Food Summit last week from New York.
Yeah, and one of the other really important things there is sort of the importance of understanding culture and context and the place you're at. And that's something I think is key to your work, Dale, key to your work, Eric. But I want to ask a question to you, Eric, here. Did you see this tweet from Jesus Nice a couple months ago about Plantega? Oh, yeah. All right. So for those who don't know, Jesus Nice is he's a media personality, and he tweeted a photo of a Plantega sign, and it had a caption, and it said "rent going up." And there was a question in here about sort of the impact on gentrification. There's also a question about sort of culturally appropriate food and kind of culture, food that makes sense in Black and Brown communities and Latinx and Asian communities here in New York City. So I'm just wondering, like, it seems like you saw the tweet. What was your reaction when you saw that? And what do you say to people who say, like, hey, this is not for the neighborhood, this is not for the community, this is not for Black folks, for Latino, Latinx folks? What's your response to them there?
To be honest, I was watching one of his episodes that morning. So when I seen that, I was here in my kitchen, and I froze, and I looked at it, and I seen so much value in that one tweet. My partner's employees called me. Did you see what he posted about gentrification? What are the people going to think? And are people going to want to continue supporting us? And at the end of the day, the tweet was a tweet that wouldn't make sense with a huge assumption. The beauty of Plantega is it's for New Yorkers, ran by New Yorkers, which is something that's kind of rare. You think of plant-based, you don't think of Puerto Ricans and everyone else that's involved in Plantega right now. But I knew it was going to be a huge benefit for us, just because these the winner of the people who win the most with Plantega is the business owner, who makes the most profit, which has been a huge success, and then also these neighborhoods that people, I don't want to say secretly, but like do not voice that they want to try eating plant-based or things in that nature. So when I seen the tweet, like I said, I seen so much value in it. I said, wow. More people are going to just know about the word Plantega. And for me, the gentrification part it's not true. So it's cool if people can read that. It's not the reality of it. Now, food-wise, like I mentioned, going to high school, I would have a bacon, egg, and cheese or a sausage, egg, and cheese every morning. The chopped cheese is the same thing for lunch or dinner. So we really just took the Bodega classics and just veganized everything else. And now we're in the process of revamping the menu, adding new products and, different cultures, different flavors, different textures to this menu. And it's like I said, it's only going to be up from here. We've came a long way in just a short amount of time. And, our big goal is to make sure we can serve all these communities. And we had to do it this way because, we're in the process of talking to local farmers to start supplying bodegas with locally grown farms. People don't even know about that live off the bodegas. And if we would have did it the opposite way, where we're like just eat salads and eat this and eat that, I'm sure it would have been successful as well. The process would have just taken a lot longer. So yeah, I think it's a huge big thing.
All right, so I don't know how this went by so quickly, but we are almost out of time. So I want to give each of you an opportunity. If you have any final thoughts here, Jill, I'm thinking, as someone who works in food and agriculture, most of us don't. Is there anything that you feel like, people should know that we don't know? And Eric, you've got all these exciting things happening with Plantega. How can people support your effort? So let's go to Jill first, then we can go to Eric. Any final thoughts or things you wish people knew about your work or about the work of plant science or agriculture in general? And then we'll come to Eric.
Yeah, like even though I have a PhD in plant sciences, you really don't need to have that much of education to start loving for plants. You know, as a 3-year, 4-year-old, I start crossing, like I start grafting roses with my mother, has no education on agriculture. So, but you can start at a very early age, introduce your kids, take them to the grocery store, take them to the farm nearby, and talk to them about organics, talk to them about the conventional, talk to them about the plant-based food. And we need to start them loving for agriculture. And then we can link everything. Human had to link to the agriculture. So very early stages, if you can introduce that, I would be very happy. That's why we do these elementary school programs as well. And maybe New York Botanical Garden can do lots with elementary school, and then give the identity of those gardens to the school. So all the gardens we build, we give them back to the school. They're managed. So just small, one step at a time. Good
Great.
work, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric, any final thoughts? What should people know? And what's next for Plantega?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the company's still very, very new. We're learning as we go. Any help counts, whether it's an Instagram follow, a share, or anything at all. You can follow us on Eat Plantega. The website's eatplantega.com, so you can see where the locations are. But also, like she had mentioned, the word of mouth thing it's a huge thing. Take these steps. Even if you're not interested in eating sandwiches from the bodegas, you mention these to your friends and family. Learn about food and what is organic. It's all really important. I also have a 3-year-old that's been vegan since birth, and it's not as hard as we think it is to teach the little ones about plant-based and the understanding of organic and even the mock meats that we eat. So yeah, just stay tuned with us. We have so much more happening really, really soon. Beyond grateful for opportunities like this, and the more we can come together to push the mission of eating plant-based and how important and effective it is, I think in the next few years we will definitely be in a better place.
All right, so Dil, I think you put your contact and your website in the chat, right? If folks want to get in touch with you, learn more about your projects. Eric, you can follow him at How to Be Vegan in the Hood on Instagram. You can go to eatplantega.com. For me, you can always get in touch with me. You can Google me, Garrett Broad, or you can email me at gbroad@fordham.edu, or follow me on Twitter at Garrett Broad. This was such a pleasure. Thank you so much to the New York Botanical Garden. Vanessa, I'm going to hand it back over to you. Really an honor to be on the stage, this virtual stage today with Eric and Dil and with you, and really look forward to heading out to Plantega, to eating more lentils, and to visiting the New York Botanical Garden soon as well. I'm a member, and you should be too if you're in the area.
Thank you so much, Garrett. And thank you again, Dil and Eric, for this very inspiring and innovative conversation about plant-based foods. Very much appreciated and much to think about. And please indeed also visit the New York Botanical Garden, where we have an edible academy and do a lot growing vegetables and sharing them with our Bronx community. And audience, thank you for joining us today for the seminar. If you missed anything or want to see it again, a recording will be saved and shared online in the New York Botanical Lecture Library. And for those who haven't registered, please do so on our mailing list. You can sign up using the link in the chat at the end. And we very much look forward to having you join us again for our upcoming webinars on October 22nd. The Plant Hunter with Cassandra Quave. And on October 29th, we continue our food discussions and look at the Carifuna community in the Bronx. And the title is Afro-Indigenous Histories of Food and Gardening, the Carifuna Plant Knowledge, Past and Present. It has been such a pleasure. Thank you all again. Have a wonderful weekend. And until we see each other again, stay well, stay green, and take good care. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.